All right, and we are live. Hey everybody, this is Roberto Blake of robertoblake.com, helping you create something awesome today. Today, I'm introducing another awesome creator and also a tech entrepreneur. He's Walt Spence, and he's gonna tell you a little bit about his story and why he is creating awesome. How are you doing today, Walt?
Doing pretty well. How about you?
I am doing awesome as per usual. So we actually met through Blab, a new phenomenon in the tech and live streaming space. And that was a lot of fun. We got to hang out. Why don't you tell the audience a little bit about what you do?
Well, I am CEO of InLab LLC, which is a up-and-coming app studio based out of Richmond, Virginia, soon to be moving down to the Texas area, in Austin specifically. We go into medium to large companies, corporations, basically figure out what's working for them and what's not, figuring out where their bottlenecks may be in terms of, operation, as well as communication with their clients, customers, what have you. And we kind of try to find a development solution for them. But in the meantime, what we're doing is we're creating stuff that we actually care about. So what we do is we take the data that we collect, even if we don't get them as a client, and we kind of work on solutions towards that, as well as things that we just find cool. So
you find problems, you try to crush those problems, and you make an app for that.
Right, pretty much.
Awesome.
That's you got it dead on. And when we're not working on something for a corporation, we're focusing on things that we find to be useful ourselves.
The value that you guys want to create and put out there.
Right.
Awesome things you guys want to make. So
exactly.
I find that really interesting because I constantly tell people that when they don't have work as a creative, whether they're a designer, a web designer, graphic designer, logo designer, whatever, that they should be working on the things that matter to them and that they think are interesting and cool and that will attract to them the people who are interested in similar outcomes or solutions or results. And if nothing else, they have a tremendous body of work. Would you say that that's something that you guys focus on as part of your philosophy, and what have your results been from that?
Yeah, absolutely. It's really ironic that you're wearing that t-shirt because that's one of my mottos: always be creating, always be thinking of something, the next thing,
Yeah, that's part of my lexicon as well. And so we incorporated it into the brand, and a great hand letterer, Jordan Queller, out in California, actually collaborated with this for me. He actually did the hand-drawn illustration, and then I did the vector work and polished it, and then boom, these shirts.
I had to buy one of those from you, but yeah.
They're in my Spreadshirt store. We'll take care of that later.
Good deal. But yeah, I mean, it's one of those things. Always be thinking about what it is that you think would be useful. If it's not useful, then you need to scrap it. You know what I mean? Like, and make sure specifically that you don't have an app that tries to do too much, gets in the user's way. Make an app that's going to be useful for that person in the moment.
Create an awesome experience and create some unique value.
Exactly.
Something very specific and very clear to see what the value is and quantify and qualify it.
Exactly.
Very cool. So why don't you tell people about how you kind of got started and what made you bridge the gap between creativity and tech, and how did you become this creative tech entrepreneur?
Well, if you want to go all the way back, we can start back in 1997 as, about 13, 12 years old, playing around with HTML, because I've always been this kind of person that had something in my mind and wanted to kind of translate that to some sort of medium.
That story sounds familiar. Where have I heard that before? My story.
Right. So when I found out about this thing called HTML, my dad was a biomedical engineer, worked with computers all the time, and we always had one in the house. Had a couple two, and we had a Tandy 2000 and yada yada on down the line. But basically, so having access to these tools and then being able to see something cool that you could kind of smash out a few colors and work and create something that's seen on the screen. The screen became a canvas. And that was pretty unique to the time, because Photoshop as we know it today did not exist. So, and from that end, I would also have a little bit of a technical mind, so the gap that's bridged between the two, it's a good nexus for me. So from there, kind of went into, while I was going through school, I got into what's known as polysomnographic technician space, which is basically—
That sounds really complicated.
It kind of is. It kind of is, but it's not. Basically, I monitor people with sleep disorders during the night, and help the doctor diagnose what was going on. And I was doing that for about 10 years. All along the way, I was kind of freelancing and doing my thing too. And something kept pulling me back to it. Just it's the love of it, man. And I was at the time I was chasing money. We're talking about good money, like $80,000 a year without a college degree. I mean,
well, that's true. But it wasn't what you were passionate about. It wasn't what you felt was like your purpose, and something about that kept gnawing at you, right?
Exactly. So, I kept going back to it. And I've always had the mindset of being independent and wanting to be, stand on my own 2 feet, in the sense of taking care of myself instead of having the company take care of me. So that kind of comes from my dad, from him having his own business. Anyway, backtrack a little bit. We kind of got to the point where, I was just seeing that this wasn't for me. Made a few transition attempts in the sense of, fell on my face. But, the thing is, once you fall on your face, it's not about how many times you fall, it's about how many times you get back up. So you got to keep moving. And then this last time, it's actually starting to gain some traction. So, it's actually kind of overwhelming, really, to be honest with you, to be talking to people that are out in San Francisco and yada yada. I mean, it's heady times for me, because it's something that I've been working towards for the better part of 12 years.
So to actually be experiencing it, the realization of something that you imagined, something you dreamed about, something that's been calling to you all this time, after putting like a decade into something that, not so much, but it was good money, like to finally have that actualization of, the dream, the realization of it is that's tremendous, and that you're living that now.
Right, exactly. And and I encourage anyone out there that has a little side hustle going on in their job, that might be watching your YouTube channel right now, that, is a creative and they want to try it, give it a try. It's not going to hurt anything. If you want to keep, do it part-time and then keep your full-time job, see how you're going to do, test the waters a little bit, learn a little bit more about business along the way. The best way to learn is by doing, period. There is no other way of doing it for me. You can go and read all the books you want to, but it's not going to do anything for real life experience. And if you happen to stumble and fall, that's cool. We live in America where that's not a sin. So you can, keep going. But
I tell people all the time that ideas are nice. Execution is better, because everyone's got an idea, but who's going to actually do something with it? And then even if you have a multi-million-dollar idea, how valuable is that if you can't do anything with it? It'd be better to do something with a 10 or 100,000 idea that you can actually move on today and start, getting some return from that, than clinging to the notion of this $1 million idea that if only I get these things, maybe I can start to begin to try it. If only I get these things, because if only will not happen, or it won't come soon enough, or by the time it does, someone will beat you to the punch. I can't tell you how many times that I've written something or thought about something, and then 2 years later I'm watching the movie or I'm seeing the product on the shelf, because it was big, versus if I had scaled something down to something that was manageable, maybe I could have moved on and created some value for myself and for other people. And so I think it's important to respect scale, and I think that sometimes hustle culture over glamorizes itself, and it over glamorizes the impact it could have, because it's like you had to consistently try for like 10 years to get somewhere. And a lot of people do. Even like my stuff with YouTube, which is not the whole of my success, it's just a platform that I leverage. But even that, a lot of people come to me and they ask about, well, how do I grow my channel? Or I've been trying this for 3 or 6 months and I'm not getting anywhere. It's like, I've been working my face off at video marketing consistently on a weekly and now a daily basis for like 2 years to get to, about 50,000 subscribers. And whatever your goal is, because that's not even what the goal was. The goal was to build a substantial impact in creative services to help people like us move faster, because information is out there about what the real part of like working at an agency is like, not the romantic fairy tale, what really freelancing is like, what working in-house is really like, telling those stories. But then also, here's how you execute on things. Here's how you make a business card, a portfolio, or this thing, or that thing. The goal was always to create value, not to get any type of fame or the numbers or any of that similar to you, I would imagine that you never really pursued glamour in the term of being an entrepreneur. In fact, you probably wouldn't say that there's something so glamorous about it, right?
No, no, there's nothing glamorous about it. I did a whole Medium article on exactly what you're talking about. And I know you read it, and that's,
Yep.
but, it's one of those things that, there's nothing glamorous about the entrepreneur lifestyle. If you're looking to get into it, know for a fact that there are going to be a lot of nights that you go to bed hungry. There's going to be a lot of nights where you're eating ramen. There's going to be a lot of nights there. The sole word is sacrifice. And the reason why you're making those sacrifices is so you get to a point where people are like, well, damn, he's an overnight success. Well,
I
guess what?
attribute a lot of my success to giving up video games, honestly, and live.
Oh, yeah.
I gave up video games and live television to get that value back on the table, to get 2 hours, 3 hours back of doing work. And for me now, that time, the time I take to watch like a show, like would translate to my ability to shoot like 8 videos. So for me, that's 8. If that's 8 videos on a specific topic, that's 2 months worth of content on a weekly schedule. So I can watch the show, or I can get 2 months worth of video work done that might translate to quite a significant amount of money or value or networking opportunities, or something that then scales to a writing gig or to a speaking engagement. So why would I watch that show?
Exactly. And I tell people that all the time. Stop being a content consumer. Be a content creator. Now, if you want to watch a show to relax and just park your brain for a couple of minutes, cool, do that. But at the same time, understand that time is leverage to you. And the more that you can, use that and scale yourself, the better you are. I mean, there's only one you. There's only so many hours in the day.
Exactly.
I mean, and granted that there have been a lot of times where I've only gotten, no sleep to 3 hours to 4 hours of sleep. At the same time, is that TV show more important to you than getting your goals accomplished? And is that show more important than you getting sleep? I don't quite think so.
Right, exactly. So I take that time and I would rest, or I would do something else, or I'd have a meaningful experience with somebody as a human being potentially. Now, when I'm in okay, I've burnt the candle at both ends, and I'm in veg mode where there's no productive work that's going to get done at 2 in the morning, but I can't sleep, then maybe I'll go ahead and I'll watch something on Netflix or watch something on the DVR, or I'll watch and listen in. I might not chime in, but I might listen to a blab or a live stream. So a lot of people in the entrepreneurship space and business have been criticizing live streaming lately, and saying that people are doing stuff like quote unquote blabbing themselves out of business, or that there's no ROI value to it. But you and I met and we built a relationship through live streaming, and I personally feel there's tremendous value in it, both from a direct ROI standpoint, if people are creative enough and smart enough to do it, but then also in the community building and the network relationship value of meeting new collaborators, potential partners, or even clients. What's your experience of that been, and what are your thoughts on it?
As far as blabbing yourself out of business, that's crazy. To me, what I've used it for is both exposure for myself, because I'm a better talker than I am a writer. So, I focus on my strengths. My strength is getting in front of you and letting you see my face and letting you hear my story. So I've appealed to so many people over there that have come to me with ideas. 80% of my current team is from this kind of genre. That's crazy when you think about it. And the reason being is because I get to know those people, and there's
you get to build relationships you would never get any other way.
Exactly. So I've been able to leverage with people that are far advanced than probably in my local talent pool. I mean, I live in Virginia. That's, it's a progressive state pretty much, but at the same time, it's not like being in San Francisco. So
people sleep on how much tech there is over in Virginia and West Virginia. People do. I know a lot of programmers out there, and it's tremendous. Something I would also say is that it's, people are underestimating the overall power of video marketing. It's a hot topic right now, but in business, especially traditional business, or people who are more conservative in business, are really sleeping on it. And I think sometimes they're afraid of what can happen in a live stream, or they're, really afraid of something on video not being perfect. And I think they're emphasizing it or overthinking it. I think that there's a missed opportunity in that. But then I also know that a lot of things that made me successful is that my strength is in my personality. And it's easier for me to communicate that in real time or through video, even if it's not real time. And so for me, putting myself, this year is when I started doing daily content. So putting myself out there, doing over 500 YouTube videos in 2 years, doing interviews like this with you and with other entrepreneurs, it's important. It builds relationships, builds community, builds transparency, puts value out there on the table, and then it's marketable content. And for me, I find that for my writing, it's easier for me to go ahead and do something, talk it out, then reverse engineer that into my talking points for an article later, and then go deeper and add more context even beyond the video. And that can make the content better and more sticky anyway, or use the written content as links to the stuff that I'm talking about in the video. So I think there's a real value there, but it may not be everybody's skill. And I get that. You and I are talkers. So for us, closing a sale means getting on the phone or getting on a Skype call. And if that's who you are, then that's who you are. You know, play to your strengths, like you were saying.
Right, absolutely. I mean, and focus on those. And you know, one of the things that I've been harping on lately is there's way too many people out there that look at themselves, and when they're trying to, you know, assess themselves, and, you know, because Gary Vee's got this whole push of self-awareness, so a lot of people are doing a lot of introspection now.
But they're going too far on the microscope.
Right. They're putting themselves over way too harsh of a light. I mean, if I put this right up to my face, you're going to see a whole lot of flaws. You know what I mean? Like, that's the thing. Like, stop focusing and nitpicking too much. Get into also who you are at the core. I believe that all of us at our core are good people. No matter what.
Or at least in the 99% range, but we get marketed that 1% way too much.
Right, exactly. And, you know, at the end of the day, you really just have to look into who you are as a person, know that that person comes from a good place. Sure, have a few things that you want to work on. That's great. But let's not over-focus. Everything should be, you know, in moderation. So let's just work on those things, you know, as time goes along. And then let's focus on what we do right. And let's be proud of what we do right. That's the other side of the coin.
Absolutely. I'm seeing an overplay, and I did a Facebook post about this, and like some people took it the wrong way, but most people, they came around on it. I did a Facebook post about the word humility and the fact that the word humble is overused and misused in our culture today. And I find that to be absolutely true, because it means to actually have a low estimation of your value and your worth. And it's something that actually means to bring somebody down. There's no positive connotation in the actual definition as it's used in the English language of the word humble. It's actually all very negative, and it was meant to be that way because the context of it was meant that like 500 years ago, you were supposed to dress in rags if you were poor. You were never supposed to aspire to look or to want more than what your God-given circumstances were. And if you tried to go beyond that box, you were beaten, flogged, hanged, or killed, or imprisoned for it, because you were supposed to stay in your lane and stay where you are. So phrases like that really tick me off, because all they're doing is robbing people of their potential and robbing the world of the value those people could create. I would say that, and again, I take crap for this, and I'm going to do it live. I don't care. If you have to choose, I would rather you're not an arrogant person, because that's negative too in an extreme. I would agree with you on moderation. But if you have to choose between two extremes of either undervalue and underrating and underestimating yourself, and overvaluing and overestimating yourself, there are enough people who will try to humble you anyway and kick you when you're down. So you might as well go the other way. You might as well overshoot, and then someone will bring you down, like how we do in business negotiations. It's asked for like 30% more than what you want, because they're going to talk you down. And so you'll either walk away with what you actually want / need, or 10 or 20% more, because they talked you down from 30. But if you start at what you need to pay rent, you're going to end up in the poorhouse, because you're going to get talked down from that.
And if people can't agree with that, then they're not being honest with themselves, honestly. I mean,
or realistic.
Yeah, right, exactly. I mean, yeah, there is some, there are some things that are really nice about having that humble sort of, you know,
I would say the word is modesty.
Right.
Modesty.
There you go. There you go.
Better definition, but like we abuse the lack of precise language in the English language so terribly, though. And I'm even guilty of that, but you know.
Yeah, I mean, if you know that you have skill, it is good to be modest. I've met so many programmers over the years that know that they're good, and they don't give a damn about what you think. They're going to tell you they're good, and they come across cocky, and then they think that their idea is the best way, and I choose not to work with those people every single time, because I've been there, I've done that. I've, yeah, sure, they bring a lot to the table, but they're emotionally and physically exhausting to work with.
I'd say
So
that's
if you're,
I'd say that empathy and situational awareness are what make you a moderate person and an even-tempered and even-toned person, to be able to balance self-awareness and pride in your skills with situational awareness of what's appropriate in terms of how you're communicating and presenting yourself.
Definitely, definitely. I mean, you hit it all there. I can't really even go any further with it, because I mean, it's one of those things that, it can only go so far, because I mean, the truths are the truth. And the truth is that, yeah, if you have skill, you have skill, you might as well just not even try to show off. You know what I mean? Like, there's going to be this young buck that comes up behind you that's going to try to show you up, and then that's the time to show your skill. You know what I mean? Like,
I would say if you've executed on a certain amount of results, then just like, it's nothing wrong with, for example, like if you have the numbers, like if you're a millionaire and you came from nothing, there's nothing wrong with saying like, yeah, I went from 0 to 1 million because I worked my butt off. There's nothing wrong with saying that if that's your story and that's the truth.
Yeah.
That's not a braggart thing. That's not an arrogant thing. People who feel that way are just being insecure because you're just saying, like, you're stating but instead they should really say, well, tell me that story, because I want to know how you went from 0 to 1 million, because now I want to do that. So why would I not, like, if you don't tell me that story, isn't that you robbing me of value or an opportunity to learn from you? If I don't know what you did, I don't know that you're qualified to answer my questions. So you have to tell me, otherwise I'm left to second guess whether you're an authority or not, or credible or not, or whether you're blowing smoke.
The results have to show for themselves.
Exactly.
There's an old saying in sports, scoreboard doesn't lie.
Yeah, the scoreboard doesn't lie. That's good. I like that.
And I actually got a t-shirt of that somewhere. But, and some people take that as cocky. But the truth is like,
that's data.
Right, exactly. And if you're a data guy, like, anybody who's in development, then you understand data is data. I mean, it's there. You can't dispute it. Now you can try to, you can try to take data and manipulate it to your favor. But at the end of the day, the data is, at its rawest form, is still truth. You know what I mean? Like,
Tony Robbins was saying something. He had a quote, and he said something like about the truth being, like, it was in his book. It wasn't his quote, but it was a quote in his book, either Awaken the Giant Within or Unlimited Power. I like both of those books, actually. And the quote was that the truth is incontrovertible. You can deny it, you can run away from it. There it is. Exactly.
That's spot on. I haven't read his book yet. I do have it in, because Sean from Blab he did a whole Tony Robbins thing.
Yeah.
And how much he helped him, and talked about that. And he hopes to get him on there someday soon. But
I don't doubt it'll happen, honestly.
Yeah, no, we've had enough big people going in there. Jason Fried from Basecamp. You've had Matt Mazzio from Lowercase Capital on there. You've had Leo Laporte from Tech TV.
I think
Tech TV fame, Twit TV
might be heading over there this week, actually. From
Smart Passive
Income. Like, Gary Vee is looking for new podcasts to jump onto, and I'm actually trying to pull him over to Blab, possibly for mine. So that could be interesting. He always does podcasts regardless of like what size they are or anything like that. So that's interesting. And
we've been trying to get him on over there for like the better part of a month and a half, 2 months. And he knows about it. I know he knows about it. I think he's just keeping his eye on it a little bit. You know what I mean? Like, he didn't jump on Meerkat right away. You know what I mean? Like, he talked about it, but he wasn't using it in day-to-day practice until he got to see a little bit more of what it was about. So I think he'll be over there. It's just going to be a matter of, I mean, it's too much in his wheelhouse not to be in it. He would love to be able to take, like,
I personally have the goal of, before the end of this year, because we're now in that fourth quarter, there's a couple of things I want to hit, and I want to whether it's that I host them or whether I participate them, I want to definitely, I know it's an easy number to hit, but I want to know that I participate in 100 blabs before the end of the quarter. I think it's that important to become a practitioner at whatever. And I always say that, like, the odds are your first 100 executions of anything are going to be crap. So you might as well get it over with. But once you move past that point and you've invested the time and the energy, It's like now you're on that path to possible mastery, and that's always a good place to be.
And to further what you said there's an old saying that I believe to be true, specifically is with the military and pilots. It's 10,000 hours.
Yep.
Gets you to master class, basically. So that's kind of gone through culture a little bit.
Hours. I crushed that a long time ago.
Yeah. So, I think I've been on Blab for 74, 75 days. So I participated in almost every day, at least one Blab. So I've got to be close to exactly what you're talking about, because if you actually, it's probably got to be way past 100, because there's been times where I've done 4 in a day. I mean, but in terms of creating original content on there, I'm still trying to figure out how exactly you go from the raw to using Manicam and different tools or eyeglasses or whatever to pump in a video to do an intro or whatever, where you're locked in on the seat, and then open it up for other people to come in, because there's the trick, right? If you can get this raw video that comes out of our WebRTC to basically be transported over as polished as it can be and make your job on the editing side that much easier, then it's so much easier to send it to YouTube, and it looks better on their side too.
Oh yeah, it really is. I'm kind of going with a scaled down approach of, I'm using the Logitech C920 webcam, which is HD quality, which is what this is doing, which is pretty good. But I'm going to also take, I'm going to get a second version of my Audio-Technica ATR 2100 and plug it in there as because I use that for podcasting, and I know the quality for that is perfect. So between those two things, I'll basically have an approximate setup of what my YouTube stuff would be when I use a DSLR. It'd be really close. It'd be almost indistinguishable between those two things, since Blab will let me pick which sources I want for which thing. So I'm going to go that route. Alternatively, I could use the webcam, the Logitech webcam, and like the Rode SmartLab Plus or something, and that would also be good. So there's alternatives for like under $100, $200 to get really good HD quality video, and then clean audio for like live streaming to get to that, maybe not that maximum tier that you were talking about, but the next rung below it very quickly. Yeah. I know that Vincenzo and Brian Fanzo are doing stuff like that. So, that's definitely an approach, and it's a budget approach for anybody watching in the audience that wants to like try to go there, or even with Google Live Hangouts on Air, that you could go there and get really good quality very easily on a budget. You don't have to break the bank. But with that in mind, let's close out with some final thoughts. What would you say to creatives out there, whether you're young or old, and they want to either get back in the game or get started? What would your encouragement and your advice be to them today?
Just start. I mean, honestly, that is the hardest thing sometimes, getting over that hurdle of like, if you're at a point where you haven't started yet, or you failed and you need to get back up on your feet and get going again, find something that drives your juices. Look around, not just in your industry, but look at other things that other people are doing to inspire you, whether it be an engineer. One of the things, this is going to be crazy, one of the things that inspired me more to get back into like my creative mode was seeing going to one of my friends works at Kia, going to see one of the new concept cars that they had at Kia, because they brought on the Audi designer at Kia, and seeing how he saw things differently opened up my mind again about like, let's re-examine everything that we've been doing. So even if you're at a point where you're stuck in whatever situation that might be in, take a step back, look at some things that other people are doing to inspire you, and try to translate that into what you're doing. And that's, at the end of the day, it's where you really win, is taking different looks at things too, and being innovative. So
getting perspective.
Right, exactly. Yeah, take a step back from all the madness for a second, reassess, and then start at the smallest step. The journey of 1,000 miles starts with the smallest step. Yeah, so go with it.
Yeah, I also tell people consistency is important. I'm reminded of a parable about the Chinese bamboo plant. You have to water it every day for 6 years, and if you miss one day, it's not going to sprout. But if you, after 6 years, that thing can go to over 20 or 30 feet. It's going to take over. So, that's the end result. You try until, what are you willing to work and execute for to get your dream? Do you respect your dream enough to put in the work every day for 6 years? If that's what it takes to get where you want to be, whether that's a a successful career, the ideal job, $1 million, $1 billion. Like, what are you willing to give up in terms of time, effort, energy, and resources to make that happen? But it's been great having you here, Walt. Thank you so much for joining the channel. I know we're going to be seeing each other again in Blab, probably even tonight maybe. But no, thank you so much for giving the time and creating value for my audience.
Yeah, no problem. It's great stopping in and having, give me a holler anytime. I'll stop back by.
Absolutely. We might do some kind of like roundtable. I prefer Blab for that stuff now, but what I'm going to probably start doing with those things is doing roundtables on Blab, then uploading them later to YouTube because we can do that. So you'll be here on the channel again, and it probably won't take that long.
Awesome. Awesome, man. Good to hear from you.
Well, it was great having you here, Walt. Hey, everybody, you can find Walt Spence. Actually, why don't you tell everyone where they can find you?
Well, you can find me at waltspence.com, on Twitter at Walt Spence. Those are the main two sources. Right now, the business is going through a redesign on the front end, so you're just going to get a landing page at inlab.co, but we hope to have something up there for you by the end of the month. So
awesome. Yeah. All right. Well, thanks for stopping by the channel and for, again, sharing that tremendous story and your advice with everybody. So everybody, I want you guys to take this to heart. I'm going to have links to a lot of the stuff we talked about in the description later when I go back and do the show notes. So that's going to be there. So I hope everybody enjoyed that. Leave us your questions in the comment section. We'll try and do that. You can also hit us in Twitter, and we'll try and respond in real time. But other than that, thank you as always for watching. And don't forget, create something awesome today.